Welcome to worship with the Universalist Unitarian Church of Peoria. My name is Reverend Innis, and it is my great joy to be the minister of this congregation, along with the members and friends, children and youth of all ages and at all stages of life. This is a house of hope. This is a house of love. This is a house where we put love into action for the sake of justice and to help be part of healing the world. As part of our practice, we also recognize those who have gone before. And the lands in this area are the ancestral home of the Peoria people. They too created their own community in their time. Now, each congregation in this liberal religious tradition is sustained by the care, skills, and financial gifts of its members and friends. If you'd like to make a donation, you see the link in the chat now or in the slide at the end of the service. And while we gather online for the sake of our shared health and safety, we also always welcome new visitors and friends. Please help us get to know you. You're welcome to join the coffee hour after service on Sunday. There will be a separate Zoom link in the slides at the end of the service. And also, if you'd like to get to know more about us, one of the best ways to contact us is through the church website. Now, this Sunday is a special service. We are beginning the annual campaign for creating the budget for the coming year. This is our major fundraising effort so that we can fulfill the mission and vision that we hope to accomplish in this time to come. As part of the campaign, we have a special message from Linda and Steve Fairbanks.
Hey, we got our pledge packet today. What do you think we start talking about what we're going to pledge this year?
I don't know. I'm going to talk about that. You know, every year around pledge time, it gives us a chance to think about what the church has meant to us over the years and how important it is in our family. When Steve and I met, Steve was a member.
I had been a member since 1994 in the old church.
And early on in our relationship, going to Sunday services was an important part of our time together. Here are some pictures from our wedding at the old church on Hamilton Boulevard. The most famous or infamous memory of our friends and family have of that day is how stinking hot it was on June 30th in a church with no air conditioning. Are you kidding me?
The windows had to be held open by 2x4s. That's how hot it was in there. No fan, no air.
Well, we didn't have a very good view of our beautiful stained glass windows then either. As sad as we were to see the old church demolished, we have a much improved and beautiful church now. At that time we got married, Steve was working to get his master's degree at Bradley, and I was working at a nonprofit agency. With 2 school-age kids, we didn't have a lot to pledge.
10-year-olds.
But we did what we could.
That's right.
During this time, we really admired church leaders like Les and Theo Jean Kenyon, Dorothy and Henry Sinclair, Dave Wyman and Linda Lyman, and just to name a few, many more, who contributed to the strength of our congregation.
Including Warren and Pat Harris. Should not leave those two out. Warren was the person that helped me get introduced to people when I first came to church as a single person. So, and he's greatly missed, and of course we love Pat. His wife Pat is still an active member.
We always knew the church would be there for us because of their legacy and the strength of our community. So life changed, and Steve got a full-time job with the city of Peoria, and I went to work at Caterpillar. And we have always pledged, and as our life changed, we adjust our pledges. And then our daughter and son-in-law were married in the church 6 years ago. So the legacy of the impact of this church on our family continues.
And we have a 3-year-old grandson now.
20 years have passed, and now we are the ages of the pillars of the church that we admired in 2000. We feel it's important now to do our part to see that this church stays healthy and vibrant, to be there for our children, our grandchild.
And for us, in these times, the church is a respite from what is happening in our world. And it's also a leader in advocating for our community and for racial and social justice and a lot of other great causes. That's why I support the church, one of the many reasons.
So I hope you'll plan to pledge generously, and we're going to finish our form.
Let's get back to it, shall we?
So thank you, Linda and Steve, for that excellent message. And thank you to everyone for your generosity in making a pledge that will help us bring our dreams into reality. And thank you also to the annual campaign team for creating and leading this drive. And now, let us enter into worship.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, spirits draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mystery of the body, scattered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the mysteries of the body, scattered here in the struggles and the body, scattered here in the struggle of the power, scattered here in the mysteries of the hour, gathered here in the mysteries of the body, scattered here in the struggles and the body, scattered here in the struggle of the power, Spirit, draw near.
Good morning. It's April 11th, and this is our opening prayer from Reverend Maureen Killerin, adapted. Blessed is this ground on which we meet, however near or far we are from each other. Holy is this gathering. Holy are the places of memory, the places which have formed us, where we store the icons of success and shattered dreams, and gather threads and pieces of what we would become. Holy are the places of memory. Holy are the places of the dream, the places over the rainbow where all children are wanted and all people are fed, where colors are the source of celebration and youth and age come to the table as one. Holy are the places of the dream. Holy are the places of change and pain, the places of our struggle, where the rivers of our lives run white and fast, and we hold on and grow. Holy are the places of change and pain. Holy are the places of connection, the places where we risk ourselves, where hands, touch souls, touch minds, and in awareness still, we change our lives. Holy are the places of connection. Holy are the places of becoming, the places of clear vision, where life and world are intertwined, and we can see forever in this moment and give thanks. Holy are the places of becoming. Blessed is the ground on which we meet. Holy and whole making is our gathering.
Hi, I'm Amy Fisher.
And I'm Ava Jane Fisher. Across the distance, the light from within me shines, sending love to all.
Across the distance, your light is the fuel that warms me and keeps my own light burning. Together, we keep the flame of community burning bright. And you can and keep your light burning too.
Goodbye and share your light.
Good morning. Today, as we take some time to think about how we might support our church in becoming all that we and the world needs, I want to share with you a story of a community that sustained its own valued treasure. It is called Sustaining the Tree of Life. The tree stood in the middle of the village. Its roots were strong and wide, and its branches spread out over the village square, offering shelter from rain or sun. The people of the village loved the tree. Children played beneath it. Young people whispered their dreams to it. People proclaimed their love or friendship beneath its branches, and elders recalled their sweetest memories when they were near the great tree. When breezes blew through its leaves, one could hear echoes of generations, laughter, dreams, prayers, songs. One day a traveling merchant arrived in the village. He rested in the shade of the tree and ate 2 of the tree's delicious fruits. He immediately wanted to sell the fruit to the next villages that he visited. So he asked a villager who owned the tree. The villager told him, no one. Well then, no one will mind if I pick the fruit, said the merchant, and began to fill a basket. I mind, said the villager, and today I am the keeper of the tree. We each take our turn. We are its protectors, sustainers. That's ridiculous. This tree doesn't need you. You could just take whatever you want, and the tree will continue. But the villager couldn't be persuaded. Sir, this tree isn't like that. We don't come here to take from it, even though we receive much. We're keepers of the tree because this is where we are nourished. This is where our people have dreamed. This is where we remember who we want to become. Well, said the merchant, you may think this tree is very special, but it still doesn't need you to sit with it. That's preposterous. Ah, said the villager, the tree itself might not need me, but what of others who come by? Just this morning, I was able to sit with a woman whose heart was heavy with grief. And this afternoon, a tired couple came by and sat with me to rest. And then an elder came, and we watched the birds in the branches together. And now you're here. Imagine if you had arrived and found no one here to talk with. You might have continued thinking that everything you do is all about you. But instead, I'm here to let you know that when you care for the tree of life, it becomes about so much more than just you. The merchant sat for a while in the shade, thinking of these new ideas. As the sun went down, he picked up his bag and headed out of town. And on his way, he shared a smile with each person he met, his heart feeling strangely light and joyful. And the people of the village, they continued to sustain the tree of life, to care for one another, and to share their gifts with grace and gratitude. So may it be for each of us.
From Unitarian astronomer Mariah Mitchell. Small as is our whole system compared with the infinitude of creation. Brief as is our life compared with the cycles of time. We are so tethered by all the beautiful dependencies of law that not only is the sparrow's fall felt to the outermost bound, but the vibrations set in motion by the words we utter reach through all space, and the tremor is felt through all time. We enter into our sharing of joys and sorrows with the knowledge of being so tethered to each other. So much beautiful dependency shared among us. I want to begin with offering a good wish for health for Donna Dickey, who has been under the weather recently. And let me further turn into sorrow. We offer our heartfelt sympathy to Sandy Meskimen and Henry Curran as they mourn the loss of Sandy's younger brother, Matthew Scott Maurer, at the age of 67. He was of Milan, Illinois, and he passed on April 1st from esophageal cancer. We also offer our condolences to Stephen Peterson for the death of his older brother Everett on April 10th. Everett lived in Washington State, and he died due to the effects of a series of health concerns. We also offer our condolences to Lindy and Zach Peterson for the death of their uncle, and our condolences to the entire family for this loss. In our larger world, this week includes the beginning of the practice of Ramadan in Islam. The first day is marked by the sighting of the new moon. The observation of this month includes fasting from sunup to sundown. And this holy month invites the faithful into deeper awareness of their relationship with the holy and the deeper engagement with their faith. Let us offer our wishes for peace during this time. Recognizing the start of Ramadan also touches on those in the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. There are a number of people who practice Islam and who have been the object of bias for both and each of those identities. Let us offer peace to them. May justice be with them. May mercy be with them. May compassion be with them. And may love be with them. May these wishes for peace, justice, mercy, and compassion be with us as well. I invite us to hold one more moment in quiet. Let us tend to the breath, allowing the joys and sorrows, names and milestones to have room to be acknowledged and honored in whatever we are gathered. That we are gathered for this moment, that we share this in this time, helps to give space for all that is in our lives, for all that is on our hearts. I invite you to breathe with me for a moment in this quiet. Amen. Salam. Blessed be. For the reading today, I bring in one of our most recent ancestors. Alondria Williams died last fall at the age of 41. They and their parents and their brother had a great community with Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church in Knoxville, and they were there since E was in elementary school. And E was also a powerful presence as a Black person who spoke out against oppression. They were a co-leader as one of the heads of our Unitarian Universalist Association, and they kept calling us forward to fulfill the great mission and the great hope of this living tradition. The reading that I offer is one that they wrote last year. It's called We Are Worthy. We are worthy, not because of what we produce, but because of who we are. We are divine bodies of light and darkness, You are not worthy because of what you offer, because of what is in your mind, not for the support you give others, not for what you give at all. We are worthy and whole just because in this great turning, in this great pandemic, this radical readjustment and realignment, we are not disposable. We are not disposable. We are needed. We are the very people that have withstood everything that has been thrown at us as a people. As Maya Angelou would say, still I rise. We arise from the pain. We arise from the grief. We arise from the limits people place on us and the limits we place on ourselves. We rise to be the children, to be the ancestors. We rise to be our true selves in relationship with our families and communities, recognizing our liberating and whole selves, honoring them and others as we strive for abundant communities, abundant lives, abundant relationships, abundant values and cultural manifestations. We are worthiness personified. I, you, we are worthy and deserve a life where we are not always fighting for our existence. Imagine what we could create if we were not always in the struggle. Imagine what we could envision if we could just be let go to just go there. So tired of always having to resist, to fight, demanding, pushing. To everyone who has the courage, the power, the ability to co-create what we want and need while rooting in what we can't lose and who we are, you are the visionary. You are the hope. You are our ancestors' dreams. No, you might not ever end up on some list somewhere, but you are on a list in someone's heart and mind. You are. And if it's in how you move in the world so people can see by example, you are the embodiment of what we need. Thanks to all that are the embodiment not of productivity, but the embodiment of radical love, care, sanctuary. It's time, embodiment time, embodiment, living one's values out loud. Let me every day live my values out loud. Let us every day live our values out loud. Embodying our values, not the productivity quotient, beyond productivity, past productivity, true embodiment, life. Here ends the reading.
Then a rainstorm came over me, and I felt my spirit break. I had lost all of my belief, you see. I realized my mistake, but time threw a prayer to me, and all around me became need love, love divine. Please forgive me now. I see that I've been blind. Give me love. Love is what I need to help me know my name. In the rain, the storm came sanctuary, and I felt my spirit fly. I have found all of my reality. I realize what it takes. Give me love, love divine. Please forgive me now. I see that I've been blind. Give me love. Love is what I need to help me know my name. Oh, I don't beg, don't pray. Show me how to live and promise me you won't stay. Love will help me know my name. Well, I try to say there's nothing wrong, but deep inside I feel me dying all along. But the message here is plain to see. Believe me. Give me love, love divine. Please forgive me now. I see that I've been blind. I need love. Love is what I need to help me know my name. Oh, I don't bend, don't break. Teach me how to live and promise me you won't stay. Love, love is what I need to help me know my name. I need love, love divine. Please forgive me now. I see that I've been blind. Give me love. Love is what I need to help me know my name. I need love, love divine. Please forgive me now. I see that I've been blind. I need love, love is what I need to help me know my name. Oh, give me love, love divine. Please forgive me now. I see that I've been blind. Give me love, love is what I need. Love is what I need to help me. When I've walked to the end of my road, I've walked to the end of my road. Love, love, I need love. Love is what I need to help me know my name. And if you just love me, love will help me know my name.
I start with an invitation. In the recent weeks, I have been asking a question in teams and meetings. What does leadership look like? What does leadership look like for this coming year? What does leadership look like? As we prepare for this year to come, with all the vagaries of how to be with each other, the very nature of religious life in our social context, our conditions of illness and racism and impoverishment and climate change. What does leadership look like? When the church itself, the religious institutions themselves, the Protestant church in particular, we haven't had to change the nature of worship drastically in hundreds of years, truly. And now we do. And now we must. We must determine and understand our purpose and consider who do we want to be and who we need to be. I also want to say up front here that this worship marks the formal kickoff of our annual campaign. And this is the season when members and friends make a financial pledge for what you and I will give for the year to come. The annual campaign is a chance to articulate our mission, our values, our hopes, and even some dreams. The annual campaign is one of my favorite times of congregational life because we get to wonder together. We have a chance to imagine how to meet our aspirations and how to give a firm place from which to launch into the future. We get to listen to each other as the people did in the tree of life in the story. Be the embodiment we get to be, as Alondria Williams reminds us. This, talking about our finances, our hopes, and our dreams, this is faith in action. It is no surprise, of course, that the annual campaign team and I would invite everyone to generosity, whatever generosity looks like in your life. And I certainly do like to say that the chance to give can happen on any day, ending in Y. Whatever giving looks like for you. But more importantly, generosity. Generosity really comes from thoughtful connection and reflection on what matters most. This is an invitation, and everyone is included. The question of leadership is one of need, what is needed, and one of imagination. What can happen? Why are we here? What matters about our presence and ministry in Peoria? And what shall we become? I am so grateful for all the creativity and the energy and the showing up of this past year. Just as with politics, all theology is local. What we believe, what we truly believe, shows up in our daily actions. We have done so much to be with each other in all the ways possible while being separated as an act of love. It matters to me that my family and I get to be here with you. I have said early on, and I will keep saying, that this is the ministry where I want to be in a time of pandemic, with all of the care and the enthusiasm and the creative response. And I hear that same sentiment from you in so many ways that we've gathered this year, in so many ways that we've connected. And I also want to say the work of this past year and this past 2 years, that we have had a chance to be part of our larger faith, and that's made a difference as well. That has mattered. The great work of our faith in this past year was the effort called You, the Vote. Reverend Susan Frederick Gray talked about this effort in her sermon, Loved into Being. She talked about it, that this was a never-before effort to coordinate with local organizers, to reach across the country, to get as many people registered to vote, and hopefully vote with love in their minds and hearts in the past 2020 election. It was never done by our association in quite the way. She had just tossed this out as an idea in our General Assembly, our annual gathering in 2019, to the thousands of delegates that were there, and people loved it. She said, "What if we got 1 million people to vote?" And she describes it saying, she was wondering if that was a little big of a goal. We're not, an enormous denomination. She kind of dialed it back a little bit in some of the later meetings. But it didn't take long before thousands of people showed up, thousands of volunteers helped, thousands of hours were donated, over $1 million raised to make this national campaign to bring everybody into action, to give everybody a voice. And in fact, the result was that we reached over 3 million people were reached in this campaign. And I know that so many of you were part of that effort in sending postcards, in meeting, in advocating, in learning, in sending more postcards, just in the hope that people would show up. And people did. We just had this effort to affirm the value of the vote and the worthiness of a voice. And this is just one of the great examples of living out our values. And we need to celebrate and keep celebrating all the efforts, large and small. And we need to do this while we're engaged in the struggle of the world. Because part of why this is so important that we live these values is because there is such heartbreak. There is so much heartbreak when news officials cast doubt on the results of elections and continue to do so. There's so much that our hearts break at increased acts of violence against people who are Asian American and Pacific Islander. There's so much bias. Reminds us of how deep our systems of oppression run, and that it's not just black and white. It is enormous and infinite and complicated. We make these grand efforts even when we may or may not be learning the lessons of the earth. When people reduced their demands on the consumption on the planet this past year, and it became more green and more clean, and now we're kind of rising into travel once again and rising into consumption once again. Will we learn? And what will we learn? And what will we make happen as a result of what's been learned? So what does leadership look like when the world is on the forming edge of life beyond the pandemic? What does a liberal religious response call us to when it is hard to have faith sometimes in people and our ability to learn and grow? I know I've shared a couple of times that, that daily mantra I have to kind of cycle through emotionally this past year. I love people, I need people, I can't stand people. How? What does leadership look like when all of this wonder and all of this struggle is in our hearts? Unitarian Universalist theologian Sharon Welch reminds us that the many victories of injustice do not belie the richness of life possible when alienation between humans and between humanity and nature is overcome. The appropriate symbol for the process of celebrating life, enduring limits, resisting injustice, is the beloved community. The beloved community, she says, names the matrix within which life is celebrated, love is worshiped, and partial victories over injustice lay the groundwork for further acts of criticism and courageous defiance. The work we do as a beloved community is this foundation, is this work, and how much we are needed in this moment. The purpose of our beloved communities provide places. Remember I said theology is local, politics is local, love is local. This is the kind of place where multiple generations find each other for company, for mutual care, for finding themselves. And the finding that happens when we have a chance to hear the story that is me and the story that is you, and then it becomes the story that is us. This is a year that has been a test of how precious our lives are, how important our democratic systems are, and how much is needed to lay before us, to meet the challenge laid before us by Alondria Williams, to truly fulfill a world where every person is valued, where we truly know and live that we are worthy. There is no other body quite like a community of faith. In our society, even, we are multi-generational, welcoming, provide opportunities for service, celebrating lives, celebrating all the anniversaries and all the milestones of our lives. We provide a place to grow beyond our individual perspectives and yet also affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. This is a place to cultivate love and justice in the cradle of history, acknowledging all that's gone before and with a mind for the future generations. We get to name what is intimately valued and what is ultimately valued in our lives and our society. We have a chance to be good stewards and tend to this world. One of the great joys of this year was my installation as the minister with this congregation, my installation with you, our installation on March 21st. I'm reminded of what Reverend Keith Cron said in the charge to the congregation, which I certainly took as my charge as well. He said that our charge would be, 1, to be a community of joy, 2, to be a place of grief, and 3, to be a place of service. We need to be a community of joy, to celebrate, to cheer each other on, and to affirm beauty and abundance and fun every chance we can, every chance to make visible the joy in our lives. We need to be a place of grief for all that has been suffered, for all that has been lost, for all that we have not yet even figured out that we have suffered and lost in this past year. We need to be a place to let people work through their grief, help people make sense of the world, and to be a place to let that grief be a safe place, to be processed and considered and understood for as long as that's needed. Congregations are places where grief is held and cared for and embraced and understood. And it certainly is for this past year, but it's also for so long, for all the grief that is in our lives. This is why I love beloved community so much, that what we have struggled with, we get to have a place to hold it here. And thirdly, to be that place of service, to be part of making a difference in our wider world, that we need to be a place, he reminded us, a place with understanding of systemic racism, of bias in disability, of support for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning folk, a place where class can be navigated and understood, where people can see their own story, can see themselves in a beloved place, in a community of people, and then go forth and be re-energized to make the world a better place, that we would be so bold and so charged. Joy, grief, a place of justice. We get to live this into our lives, into our values in this coming year, and we are more equipped for it than ever. All the adaptation, all the creativity, this has been in process. We're going to do social events. We're going to do multi-platform worship and ministry with the audio-visual upgrades. We're going to strive to make things more accessible as we have been learning all the different ways that people connect with our congregation. We're going to be communicating in new ways with videos and other media. And when we come together, We get to have a deep practice of being a covenantal community, because we're going to have to relearn how to be around each other. We have a chance to work on that spiritual practice of listening, of asking for and understanding consent, and in keeping our promises one to another. This is a year of rebuilding, of reconnection, but it's also a year of newness, of new people adapting to an ever-evolving condition in our lives. All of this gets to be our answer to what does the leadership look like for the coming year. And part of that begins today with our annual campaign. When considering your pledge, I invite you to be as generous as possible. Each of us has very particular and personal circumstances in our resources. But given those particulars, how does your financial commitment express the hope and expectation and compassion that you wish to make real, that we can do more together than any one of us alone? We have done so much, and we have done so well. This has been a great experiment in congregational life. And we go forth, continuing that great experiment as we build for a new day to come, and continue to be pilgrims on an adventure of the Spirit, even as we encounter our mortal struggles. From Alondria Williams, we arise from the pain, we arise from grief, we rise to be the children and the ancestors, we rise to be our true selves. May we live up to the charge of our ancestors, and may we go forth into the world and offer a message of joy, a space of sorrow, and commitment to bring love into action in the form of justice. May we be so bold. Amen.
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we go walk it out. And move mountains, gonna walk it out. Move mountains.
And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. I'll rise up, I'll rise up, I'll rise up for you. You can have all the money in your head, all the possessions anyone could ever have, but it's all worth its treasure. True worth is only measured by what you got in your heart. You can have everything, but what does it mean? It all means nothing. Don't rise up for something. You just can't talk the talk. You gotta live the talk.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And finally, from Elandria Williams. To everyone that has the courage, the power, the ability to co-create what we want and need, while rooting in what we can't lose and who we are. You are the visionary. You are the hope. You are our ancestors' dream. It's time, embodiment time, embodiment, to live one's values out loud, to let me live every day my values out loud, to let us every day live our values out loud. Let us meet this charge. Let us go forth. Our worship is ended. Let our service begin.